Good afternoon, YouTube. Today, here on the HHREC Podcast, we have a special guest, and let me give you a little bit more. So we're going to take a deep dive into the nonprofit called the Black Neighborhood, and we're going to talk with the co-founder today. He has 10 years of experience as an educator, and we're going to get his thoughts on Oakland's education system. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Cory.
What's happening, y'all? Cory Elliott, Richmond, California native, co-founder of TBN, currently the president and CEO. And here to spread love, light, passion, blackness, and everything else.
I feel it. So what is the Black Neighborhood's mission?
Absolutely. The Black Neighborhood is dedicated to helping Black people, first and foremost, as simple as that. You know what I mean? And by help, I also mean supporting, inspiring, educating, and also learning, right? So TBN is really dedicated to being a vessel, to being a beacon, to being your brother, your pops, your son, your homie, you feel me? Your partner, the person walking by on the street, your grandpa that you see every now and again, that distant uncle that comes by and gives you gifts, and even, the uncle that gives you headaches. Like, we're here to be all encompassing and to be a mini diaspora for the Black community. And then, inevitably the larger community as a whole when it comes to prosperity.
Nice. I do appreciate that actually, because, we need more of that, especially in our just BIPOC period. So right on. So let's get into a little bit about your story, my brother. Okay. All right. So you're a Bay native. Tell me a little bit more about that. Tell me more about your story.
Absolutely. I'm from Richmond, California. I was raised by my mother. I have a sibling. The both of us are from Richmond. My mom's the youngest of 11. And so all my aunts and uncles also grew up in Richmond, California. I have a large family. I grew up with this family. I grew up with this sense of purpose. I grew up with this sense of pride and this sense of leadership. Like, I always knew that I wasn't going to follow. I never always knew what I was going to be, right? When you're young, growing up in these cities, there's a lot of distractions. Yeah. But because of my family, I've been able to see, like, behind the veil. And so, you may have kids coming to school. They may be the bad kids or the tough kids, or they're doing whatever. Mm-hmm. And luckily, because of my family, I could see that child's home. I could see how their mama was. And so I always had kind of this like feeling for destiny, like not necessarily saying that I'm going to be the best ever or nothing, but like I'm going to be the best ever or something. You know what I mean? And I always felt a responsibility to represent myself and my family, the city, the Bay. Like, I've just always had this pressure almost on me throughout my entire life.
Yeah, like an identity almost.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
For sure. So did you grow up in an environment that had a heavy emphasis on education? Because you said you weren't the top, but essentially you kind of were the top because you had that pressure on you. So,
Absolutely.
So did you grow up in a household that really put emphasis on education?
I did. My mother, she taught. She was a teacher when I was coming up, and she always, like, I was the kid that had homework during the summer but never went to summer school. You know what I mean? Like, my mother would send us to get books, to write essays. She always was challenging us. She always was correcting us, how we spoke, how we moved, how we presented ourselves. Yeah. And so, my mother was absolutely and always has really emphasized education.
Shout out moms. Shout out
moms. My mother, man. I love you. If you watch this, I love you, Mom.
So how much did that impact your life, especially because, I'm from the Bay Area too. I'm from the Mission District. I understand how that dynamic could look like as a young Latin kid. Yeah. But on your end, what was that? Like, how did it impact your life being so heavily deep in education?
Sure. It gave me a path.
Okay.
Right? When I was in middle school, I knew I was going to college. when I was in elementary school, like I knew I was going to go to college. I didn't necessarily know how. And outside of my mother, I didn't have too many like real examples of that, right? I can think of one uncle that we saw as like the successful uncle. But I had a lot of examples of what I didn't want, you know? And I think the biggest thing is like having family member, having cousins, having homies that I felt like were way more smarter than me, that were gifted, that were talented. You know, we all have those uncles that tell us about their past lives that we never really got to witness. And so I always felt like I'm looking at a bunch of people that like are supposed to be better than where they currently are. That really have greatness inside of them, and somehow, some way along the lines were deterred from really achieving that. And so I always had a pathway for success, and I knew that came in education. I wasn't always a straight A student. I'm not saying I always loved school, but I definitely saw it as a path to get to college.
Now, you segued right into it. So which college did you go to?
Absolutely. I started at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, okay.
And I transferred my junior year, and I graduated from Howard University in Washington, D.C.
Out of state. So how did that impact you? What was that like?
Sure. So, you know, my entire life, I never really fit in.
Okay.
Right? So growing up how I grew up, right, it's like I went to private schools. I went to a private elementary school. And so if I'm in the hood or whatnot, people are teasing me because of how I talk, right? I stutter also. I was a skinny kid. And I'm not really from the ghetto like that. Like, I grew up there, right? My aunties, all my cousins live here, but my mama can pick me up and we'll go up the street wherever, you know what I mean? So there was always that difference in the fact that my mother checked my backpack and, you know, she was phenomenal. She was sober, as opposed to a lot of the homies or cousins or family that I had who had different struggles, and then going to, you know, these schools that are predominantly Caucasian and not fitting in there either. So I was always used to kind of like movement within myself and just being who I am and like, this is how it is. I went to high school in San Francisco, independent high school in San Francisco Hills. Drew School is the name of it. And so at that time, right, I'm getting up at 5:30 in the morning, catching 2 buses BART to get to a school in San Francisco that started at 8 o'clock. And so I always knew that I got accustomed to traveling for school. When it was time to go to college, you know what, I'm like 17 and there was a lot of things going on. You know what I mean? Even though I had a lot of luxuries, like I still didn't think I would make it to be 17. Like I just accepted when I was like 13, 14. Like, you know, it's going to happen how it's going to happen. The best thing I could do is live my life, be right by people. I never did anything where I expected, like, I never did wrong to where I'm like, people are after me. It was never that. You know, it's sort of like, ain't no one shot at me personally, Cory Elliott, but I didn't had to get out the way or do whatever a couple times, more times than I would like. And so I always knew that there was more to the world than Richmond, and I knew I wanted to see it. And I have an older cousin. His name was Keon Shoemaker, and he was killed when I was probably a sophomore or a freshman in high school. He went to Clark, Atlanta University, well, I just said it, but nonetheless, so when that happened to him, that really made me kind of want to walk in his shoes. And so I chose to go to Morehouse because of the institution. I had met some guy at a store and he went to Morehouse, and I felt like God was just aligning me with random like men that I was meeting just randomly, like, yeah, you should go to this school. But also, and largely because my cousin was down there and I really wanted to be a part of that. That's how I went there. And then DC, you know, Howard, I ended up leaving, going to Howard. And so I always kind of used education as a passport, basically, right? Like I'm in the A, I want to live in DC. I was a poli-sci major. I'm like, DC is politics. That's where it's at. That's where I'm going. I end up getting a master's in New York, so I have a master's in teaching. So even that, right? I'm in DC. I'm coming from here. I'm like, well, since I'm on the East Coast, I might as well go check out New York for a little bit of time. Got a master's, taught there for a while.
Nice. Now, from that transition, because, you know, the hood is the hood, what was it like being around, like, a lot of Black educators?
Facts. In terms of college,
HBCUs?
Yeah. Sure. So,
like, was it Was it a culture shock, I would say?
I wouldn't say it was a culture shock. What was a shock for me is I would never forget my freshman year at Morehouse College. I wasn't accustomed to seeing a large group of black men together. I didn't know them, and like walking through them and everyone's greeting me and saying hi and shaking my hand and dapping me up and being extra friendly. Like, I've always been a nice person, but you have to have a certain exterior and you have to almost be like prepared at all times. And the world got to know, like, I don't want any problems with anyone, and you're not about to just come up to me and just reach in my pockets. Like, that type of vibes will never happen. And so growing up like that, Morehouse College, it definitely like softened me up in that sense. Again, I went to predominantly white school, so I knew how to separate and how to recognize where I was. So I've always been loving. I've always been boisterous. I've always been happy. Even when I was like with the homies, there's pictures where I'm the only one smiling ear to ear, and they're like, bro, you're not supposed to be smiling. And I'm like, bro, I always smile. Like, this is just who I am. So it definitely was a shock to see what I will say was more of a culture shock was the money, right? Going to school with kids who have family legacy on legacies of college, whose parents are the top dentist or doctor or attorney. Everyone's driving like nice cars. Everyone came from the schools that I came from, but like they're used to it. Like, it was no big deal for them to go to schools that cost X amount of $1,000 per year.
Mm-hmm. Damn. Okay. So you mentioned what you did after college. You mentioned it was teaching.
Yep.
What was that journey like? Because from learning to being from learning to actually being the teacher.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ironic that I ended up being a teacher. I didn't necessarily go to college for teaching, nor is it something I wanted to do. Quite frankly, I've always been the person that's going to move by my heart more than my mind, right? Not saying don't be smart, but like if I just have a feeling like God is telling me to go the long way home today, I'll just walk the long way home, right? And so when I was at Howard my senior year, like most seniors, I know what I was about to do. I had no idea. And I'm like, I'm moving to New York. I'm going, and I moved. I didn't have anywhere to stay. I didn't have a job. I didn't have nothing. I just one-way ticket to New York. Everyone's like, Cory, you tripping. And teaching ended up being naturally what came to me. I was a camp counselor while I was here. My first job was with Youth Works. And so I was like a camp counselor. And so I've always had a natural knack with working with young folks. And so teaching was pretty much right up my alley from the go. I just didn't really know. Like, I fell into it. I didn't really choose it. It just kind of happened.
It was like, bloop.
Exactly. Exactly.
I got you. What grades did you teach?
Sure. So I've taught kindergarten and up. My master's is in early childhood education, which would technically be like kindergarten, first, second grade. But I would say middle school was really my specialty. And I taught special education. And so, middle school, elementary school. I've had workshops and worked with high school students, but I was never a high school teacher.
Okay. Why did you start the Black Neighborhood?
Absolutely. We started the Black Neighborhood because we didn't see enough of us doing the work that we do. Not saying that people weren't there, not saying that, we're the first to do none of this. And also, the world has done a powerful job of disconnecting us from our history. And so we didn't see Black men that was cool, that was kicking it, that were themselves, really, really showing up in the community the way that we felt like needed to be done.
Okay. Got to clear my throat. So we talked about how you started TBN. Now, tell us the story of like how it came to fruition. Like, obviously, it was an idea. Like, between you and how many of the co-founders are?
So there's 5 co-founders total.
Okay.
Yep. Myself, Cory, Kimani, Uzo, Bryce, and Mr. Hughes. That's what I call him. He is gonna hate that I call him by his last name, Rolls Royce. Rolls Royce. Rolls Royce. Rolls Royce.
That's hilarious.
He's from Richmond, California. That is my first cousin. I love you, bro. Kimani's my sibling. So us five started it. The idea, so all of us came to it differently, right? But me personally, I've always been about this work. So, right, even before I was a teacher in middle school / my freshman year of high school, I started like a youth organization. It was called Teens on a Mission. We first started by reading books, literature, and then we kind of expanded to being a current events dialogue discussion group. And so I've always been an advocate. I've always been about my community, right? Before I was a teacher, I was a camp counselor, and then I dedicated my life to teaching. And so the work that we're doing, like I've been building and envisioning forever. In particular, my mother sat me down. She had me watch the Black Panther Party Vanguard. I want to say it's like a PBS Vanguard, and then it's, everything else. But nonetheless, so she had myself, Kimani, and Rolls Royce watch that documentary. And she probably made me watch it like 2-3 times. But nonetheless, I remember watching this, just graduated from Howard. I was back in the Bay. And she's like, so what you gonna do about it? Like, what you gonna do? Like, what's your legacy gonna be? And I would never forget my mother telling me that. That's when it dawned on me that a lot of the movers and shakers in the Panthers were younger than I was at that time. They're teenagers, right? 17, 18, 19. And at this time, I'm probably 23, 24. And I just graduated from Howard. So I'm like, what? Like, there's no... And to be honest, I probably had graduated and been teaching in New York for like 2 years. But regardless, I realized that I am past that age that they were. I've got a degree. Like, what am I going to do? And so, again, I've always kind of been manifesting these visions. TBN has, I dang near was born to do this on top of many other things that God has given me, right? And so my mother is talking to me about that, and then I'm just visualizing, building things. I talked to Kimani and Rolls Royce, and we are collectively, the three of us, like really just sharing ideas and sharing visions and what we would like to see for our communities. I knew that, again, Richmond was small. Kimani and my cousin were busy, and I really needed someone that really is action-based, and I really wanted to connect Richmond and Oakland. I don't know if you know, but there's always been some tension between Richmond and Oakland. No. Growing up, there always was. And so while we were at Howard, Kimani's freshman year roommate was Bryce. And he is an Oakland native, East Oakland native, Uzo also. And so I go to Bryce's house, and I'm like, yo, you got to watch this documentary. This PBS Vanguard thing, you got to watch it, bro. Like, I'm going to sit here with you and watch it. Like, we going to watch this, and we are making something.
What you about to do?
Facts. And so we sat there, watched it. We started chopping it up, and he came up with the name. And so when I left his house, we had everything written down in terms of like what this is. We just didn't have a name. And that was a challenge from the jump. Like, yeah, I have all these visions and these ideas, but it has to be in some kind of a package that we can share and that we can build from. And so I remember talking to him, thinking about names. He must have called me later that day or the next morning. And we're going through, we probably went through between the both of us at least like 10 names.
Yeah, naming a business is hard.
Facts.
So I got you on that.
Facts. And finally, when he ran this name past me, I was like, that's it. Like, that's it, bro. And I remember being on the highway talking to him, and I'm all about energy. Like, when I get excited, like, I'm the type of person that's going to do it with or without anybody. And so, if it wasn't TBN, like, I would have started something. Like it was going to happen. But yeah, so he had that name, and then Uzo and Bryce have known each other since they were young, middle school age. And so with Uzo on board, the five of us then really came together. And that's when it felt like we have a team, we have a name, we have a vision. Let's get to it.
Again, shout out to moms, because she was like, I'm gonna circle you all the way back around. Yeah, you got this education, you got your degree. How you gonna benefit the community?
Absolutely.
How you gonna benefit the African American community specifically.
Absolutely. My mother's always been about that. That's,
all right.
Facts.
So at that time, did you think that this idea that you had, the vision, all 5 of you, did you think it would blow up into something this big?
We ain't even there yet, bro. To be honest, like, right, we started in 2016. We've gone 8 years to 100% volunteering. Like this year and last year was our first time going for funding, and we got some. And this year is our first time. Like, my goal by the end of this year is to make this my job, right? And not only myself. Like, the biggest achievement that I'll have is when I can look up and see a whole community of folks that can be like, TBN hired me. They taught me things. I worked with them. I done made 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, to whatever over the time of however many years I've been working with them. Like, it's about community, but it's about financial community also. And that is my biggest, like, achievement, is just for folks to be able to be like, together we made money, and we made money doing something so positive and so dynamic and so impactful for our community. And so did I expect it to be like this? I'm very honored. I'm very thankful, right? God is with me every single day. And like, this going to be way bigger than this, bro. Like, all right. You feel me? Like,
well, I feel
that's what I'm looking for.
I feel the energy, bro. I feel it. And
that's what I'm looking for.
I really can't wait to see the fruition come when it does. And it sounds like it's coming here real soon. Yep. And, with you being in the door now, with you understanding, this sector of work, have you reached out to other partners? Have you worked with other community-based organizations?
Yeah.
Have you started to essentially, because you did the footwork already, but now it's like cementing yourself within the community, especially when it comes to providers.
Yep, absolutely. Family Justice Center is one of the orgs that we've been working with most recently. Prospect Sierra Schools has been a phenomenal partner when we're doing our food giveaways. Both cities, Richmond and Oakland, have been super impactful and helpful. Feed My Sheep by a woman named Faye Lewis, I want to say. It may be Faye Gabriel. We call her Miss Faye, right? She recently passed, but Feed My Sheep was really our first ever community-based anything. And they already have their thing. They already had their food giveaway, but they needed some support. They needed more hands. And so that's how we were really incorporated and started doing the food giveaways monthly. It was really through Feed My Sheep. I'm just saying that to say that I personally, I'm a competitive person, in terms of my homies and in terms of let's see who gets to the car first when I was a kid, but when it comes to this organization, community work, I work with everybody. I don't need to be seen. It's funny because this year with our social media person, her name is Chelsea Marie. She's phenomenal. She's taken over our social media. Probably the past 6 months, we grew from 7,000 to almost 19,000 followers. 200,000 accounts reached the past 30 days. You know how it shows on the little business side. But I'm just saying that to say she and a lot of folks have told me, Cory, you're going to have to put yourself out there a little bit more. You have to be comfortable being the face in many ways with the org. It's not that I'm shy. It's just that, I've always been the type of person, I'll put your mask on before I put mine on. And I'm learning that the only way to continue this is to take care of yourself and to also be comfortable.
Step out into that light.
Exactly.
Yep. I completely understand you.
Exactly.
When I first started nonprofit work, it was nah, let me help the next guy get up before me because I'm humble like that. I don't need no recognition if I complete a project, or you don't need to put my name on it. But as I move forward into this, it's hey, if I want to be put in the room with change makers, I gotta be a change maker. So I completely understand you there. Now we're gonna get into TBN.
Absolutely.
What programs do you currently have at TBN for the folks who's listening?
Sure. Thank you. So our probably longest program is our Thanksgiving food giveaways. So we give away 500 turkeys. We also give away over 1,000 bags of food. The bags of food have all that you need for your Thanksgiving meal, right? So we'll have yams, onions, potatoes, canned goods, vegetables, the whole gambit, everything that anyone needs to make sure that their family community, etc., has food for Thanksgiving. So we've been doing that. This will be our 9th annual. We have Mental Health Hikes of Healing is the full name, but they're really just I shouldn't say really, but they are TBN Mental Health Hikes. And we'll have our 30th one March 3rd. And essentially how that started was, we know as Black people and people of color, period, we don't always have the luxury to find natural ways for our mental health or even focus on our mental health, period. When you're in survival mode, certain parts of healing or certain parts of self-care become a luxury.
Yeah, you don't even think about it.
Facts. Growing up in the Bay, we have roughly around 50 people per hike, right? This upcoming hike, we have 150 folks signed up. We usually get about half, of who signs up. We'll probably have 65, 70 folks at this hike. And the vast majority of them that are natives have never been on hikes before.
Yeah, no,
right?
It's a completely new dynamic to them.
Yeah, yep. And knowing the mental health component of it. And so mental health hikes is something really big for us. We have youth empowerment, like workshops, seminars. We started doing our youth empowerment programs at the Infirmary Park in West Oakland. And when we first started, we were doing it for like 8 months, like twice a month. And then we did it during the summer. Currently, we have a young men's leadership program out of Aspire School. It's called Berkeley Maynard Academy. It's in North Oakland, Berkeley border. And we have an after-school program there with young men where we're really cultivating leadership and really exposure, experiences. Like our kids want to be rappers and entertainers or athletes because that's what they see as a means to success. But if I can bring in a Black doctor and a dentist that just kicks it with you, that talks the way you do, and then 2 or 3 days later, we go visit them wherever they are, suddenly you can go home and tell your mom or your dad or whoever you living with, I can be a doctor. I just met this guy. He looked like me, talked like me. Exactly. I can do that. And so that's really what that program is about. We have a scholarship that's currently going now. We give at least 3 seniors that are going to college a little over $2,500 for college. We have a book club. The book, they're out of New York, right? One of our co-founders lives in New York. And so they read Black authors, they talk about it, they have dialogue about that. We also have a few initiatives and events in LA, and I'm always forgetting something. And so there's probably a couple more that I haven't even mentioned that we're doing currently. Oh yeah, like domestic violence stuff. So last year we got funding to do domestic violence prevention work. And so we've done domestic violence workshops, seminars, and just healing spaces for our community.
Nice. It sounds like y'all are dibbling dabbling pretty much everywhere right now, just trying to support everyone who you can, which, that's a testament to what you guys envisioned.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I commend you for this work, because this is not easy work. This work will take a toll on your own mental health.
Absolutely.
So I really want to get into it for your high school scholarships.
Okay.
So how did that start? Like, how did that
Sure.
how did that even begin?
Sure, absolutely. One, the bulk of the co-founders graduated from college. 3 of us graduated from Howard University. Cory Elliott in particular, he was an English major, Spanish minor at Howard, and he's always had a knack for the youth and education. He started our college. We had like a college preparedness workshops that we were doing in Brooklyn, New York for about 2 years when him and I both lived there. And he really wanted, and all of us, we really wanted to find ways to have an impact on high school seniors that were going to college that, one, may not always get the funding. So like, you don't have to have a 3.5 GPA to get this. We also wanted it to feel light. So you do have to, show that you've gotten into college, and we'll give it to you around when you're transitioning to your freshman year. But you can use the money however you see fit. And so we really wanted to find a way to support folks without having to physically do the work and to help, that senior year of college going into freshman year is a real sensitive part in your life. And so eventually we would like to have college tours where we can bring a group of 10 kids from Richmond, from Oakland, from San Francisco to Howard University, to Morehouse College. The East Coast and the South have a far more robust Black educational community. But that's really it, to make a long story long.
Yeah, there's this one organization I know out here that they actually do they do a Black college tour. And they take a whole bunch of students from like all different types of high schools, and they travel across the U.S. and go to all of the historically Black colleges, which, I mean, it sounds like you kind of want to go that route. So
absolutely.
I would, that would be awesome to see more, especially, again, more BIPOC students or even Black students in these colleges and actually wanting to pursue education instead of, as you said, rappers, athletes, entertainers. So
that's not bad. Like, be your entertainer,
it's not bad.
There's also more options than what we think.
But yeah, like you can have multiple paths.
Yes.
If you want to be an entertainer, cool.
Yes.
But what is your step after that if that's not coming to fruition?
Exactly.
So,
and a school like Howard University has graduated, so many people in the industry. So it can still be beneficial for you to go to school, even if your goals may not necessarily be educational based.
Yeah, because folks don't realize that if you go to school, right, and you get, just say, a degree in account management, guess what? That's a foot in the door to the music industry.
Yes, it is.
So
Absolutely.
It works hand in hand, and I feel like a lot of people don't really realize that. But I want to get into your teaching experience now.
Sure.
So I want you to share your experience working as a teacher in low-income areas. How did that impact your life and kind of affect you to move toward this work?
I've been honored to teach the amazing students that I've taught. I've seen the light bulb go on in so many young minds.
That
you know what
moment.
I mean? Absolutely. And it has been torturous to see the way Black and brown children are taught in these schools. It has been the hardest thing in my life to have someone that doesn't look like me or my community tell me how I'm supposed to educate children. With that being said, right, like, I studied this, I went to school for it, so I'm not saying that you can't learn from everyone. I'm not saying that we only need one type of person that's teaching whatsoever. And also, cultural respect is real, and Black people rarely get it. Cultural norms are real, and Black people rarely get it. Me being a straight Black man, dark skinned, coming in how I come in, I'm not intimidated by the school system. I'm very respectful. I can be taught. I've never been hard at like learning or like been an issue with any school that I worked at. But I saw, like, again, I went to private schools. So teaching in a room, I've taught special education and I've taught like outside of that, right? So in just the like typical rooms, right, you got 30-something kids. There's no way in heck all of them can learn really like that. Out of the 32, 33 kids, there's probably 2 students that behavior-wise, mature-wise, focus-wise, whatever it is, really aren't prepared and are not set up for success being in a room that's so big, right? By November, that 2 becomes 4 now because it's a distraction. And so even just seeing the way that schools are afraid of parents, I think it's crazy that parents can't just show up at school to see their kids. At a lot of schools, you have to check in. You got to like schedule a time
go through hoops
to go see your child. That is ridiculous. Like, what y'all doing to where you don't want me to come in, right? And I get that there's safety measures and you do have parents that have shown up and that have done, like, I get all of that. And still, I think oftentimes teaching, like policing when it comes to Black people, focuses on the 1% that's doing wrong and punishes the 99 because of it.
Yep. Guilty by association.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And we don't get the benefit of the doubt. Kids don't really get the benefit of the doubt. The curriculum's horrible. Kids are being passed on to the next grade and they haven't learned anything. And it's really setting us up. Last thing I'll say about that is I absolutely think that schools also need to find a better way of helping our kids understand reality. I've seen too many young men that feel empowered because there's a white woman, white adult teacher that's staying there afraid of them. And so they go around school doing things, not realizing that once you leave this building and you do that same thing, it's going to really be a problem. And so they have sometimes this false sense of power in regards to hierarchy with society that I think can be very dangerous and detrimental to our kids.
And I'll speak to that because I went to a normal high school, and the way my learning style works, it wasn't conducive at all. I didn't know this. I'm 14, 13. My first year, not even my first year, my first semester. I went to a 3,000 population school.
Wow.
My classroom was 35 people.
Yeah.
I immediately dropped out. I couldn't do it. And then by the grace of God, my family actually had this recommendation. I don't know if you heard of the school called Life Learning Academy.
No, I haven't.
It's a high school based on Treasure Island, and their classes are 1 to 8. One teacher
that's
to 8.
Beautiful.
And the way they teach life skill classes, but the way they teach is a lot of hands-on. So the way I learned math and trigonometry and geometry, we went outside, took pictures, and then went on Adobe and did the equation based off of the lines that we saw.
Wow.
So being able to have the resources, right? Being able to have the resources, but then also have the cultural background and then the linguistics in place. Yeah. That is what's really going to change the dynamic of our African-American, our Black, and our brown kids being taught.
Absolutely.
That's the only way I really see change when it comes to the classroom, is you have to not just teach 30 kids. You have to meet them where they're at.
Yes. Yes. Teaching is an art and a science. It's a bit of both. And just like you said, cultural respect to me means when you go in someone's house, culturally, you may have to take your shoes off when you enter the front door, right? Culturally, you may wear a shirt and tie, or you may speak a certain way so that certain people understand you. And I think that Black people aren't really recognized as culture. We're the same way. People can say things that are disrespectful, and they don't really, I'm just asking. Well, no, that's not the way that goes. And I think teaching is the same way. If we are really catering to this community and we're intentional about it, then we would learn that even something like the cafeteria food, the kids ain't eating all day. What is that telling you? And a lot of these charter schools are making more schools and more schools, but you don't have full teacher staff at the schools you have open. So how can I think that you care about my community if you open a new school, but this school has so many holes in it? Yep.
You got part-timers here.
Come on.
It's the turnover rate is it's crazy.
And that's real. And that's the way that if parents hear anything, if schools have high turnover rates with teachers, that tells you something. There's no way in heck a school should be in a community, especially a Black community, for more than 4 years, and the community doesn't love you and isn't thriving and isn't a part of the school, whether a kid goes to the school or not, whether they have on your colored t-shirt or not. If y'all don't have that preparedness even, right, there's fights. I'm tired of every school year felt like a new school year. I'm like, how? We just had summer. Y'all know where we are. You know where the kids are coming from. How you don't expect fights if X, Y, and Z is happening, or if these two areas are coming to the same school? How y'all not prepared? And I just felt like there's a lack of really care.
Being culturally aware of your surroundings.
Absolutely.
You need to
Absolutely.
You need to have these things in place before you decide to build a school.
It's ridiculous. And that's not to say that the teachers aren't phenomenal, that the head of schools aren't phenomenal, that the staff isn't phenomenal.
It's the system.
But the system makes it to where it's not my fault as somebody above me. And as a teacher, right, I care about my students. So I'm not going to jeopardize my job on the sake of what's right and then not have access or be able to teach the youth.
All right. And that falls right into our next segue. So do you think there is a lack of emphasis on the positive benefits of doing well in school right now?
Do I think there's a lack of emphasis on
is school being promoted as positive as it has been years and years before? Because I remember seeing them ads on TV education connection, you have to go to college, you got to do this, you got to do that, you have to do college was the way out of poverty.
Yeah. So we thought.
Do you see that now with the current education system?
I, truth be told, never really saw it with the education system. I think the advertisement and marketing, it's the same way as they say, like, we're helping low-income students. Why I gotta always be labeled as low income? Yep. Why I always have to be labeled as a minority? Why do you have to paint me to be struggling and going through all these stereotypes to feel like I'm valued enough to be invested? You feel me? And so I think that the jargon has been used and the reputation and the stigma that's been placed on so many children has always been there. I do think that there are differences nowadays. One, obviously, like with the insurgence of technology and knowing that college may actually not help you get out of poverty per se. I'm a strong advocate of college, don't get me wrong, but it isn't seen as much of a path of success as it was when I was going. I definitely think that community-wise, culturally-wise, Black communities and families have always preached and wanted our kids to be successful. Even the worst kid you see or the kid that's done the craziest thing, I guarantee you his mama or grandma or whoever
somebody advocated
and
for
encouraged him, go to school, do your thing. I think society as a whole has a challenge with free Black people, and that comes with certain types of education, and that comes with being empowered and being poured into. I think there are hoops to be an educator. There are certain things you got to do to teach. And if we admit certain hardships that people of color have, then you're already putting us at a disadvantage. And
already dropping that stigma in there.
You feel me? It's the same thing as like I would never forget. I was teaching in Brownsville maybe. And I was trying to like give advice to someone that was basically like a supervisor. And she was like, I hear you, Cory, like, tell me where it's written in a book. And, but like that was a perfect example of like to be verified mostly in white spaces if you don't look like them.
Yep.
You have to have some
type of statistic or data.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, I hear you, so I need to find a white author that has wrote something about people that look like me for you to believe it, because you think coming from my mouth, it's not valid. And so I think all of these are challenges and issues with the educational system and with promoting. Like, how can we promote healthy learning if the kids don't like or don't eat the lunch?
Yeah.
If they go outside for 10 minutes during recess, it's 15 minutes long. We had it for like an hour. How am I as a young boy supposed to come in here and learn math if all day long I've had to sit like this? You know what I mean? Back straight.
No,
like,
Like I completely understand you.
In the hallways. Like it's jail for real. And it's crazy.
It's funny because, right, it's like an indoctrination of sit up straight, pay attention, do this, that, and the other. Like with demand.
And the cold part is, right, because again, like I went to private schools, like we called our teachers by first names. Yep. Why am I, as an adult, I don't have kids yet, but why am I, as an adult, referring to you with your last name in this space? Like I get respect, but also part of that, if we really go to the successful schools, and if you look, most of these charter schools that are boasting success, compare them to a school they already deem worse than them. Yep. So it's all marketing. Like
it's funny, right? Because in high school, I called all my teachers by first names. Yeah. Because they understood that students not only had to be respected, but also the teachers. There was a mutual respect between them both. We were treated equally. Absolutely. It wasn't, oh, you're above me because you have a degree. It's, no, we can learn from each other.
Yes. In the independent schools that I've known, seen, observed, been a part of, we never had to ask to go to the bathroom. You go to the bathroom. Yep. You know what I mean? And obviously there's challenges. I'm not saying that there aren't, but I am saying that if we really want to be successful, we need to model our schools after many of these schools that do cost $40,000 a year to go to. Yeah. And stop thinking that these kids aren't capable of raising to those expectations.
Because if you're gonna charge this exorbitant amount of money, not to say, education shouldn't cost money. I don't, personally, I think education should be subsidized like crazy. Okay. I don't think you should be able to charge 80, 90, 180,000 to make sure that you want to learn an education, but you're being a part, like you're learning something to be a part of society. Yeah. To be a contribution to society. Yeah. Regardless of what you learn.
Yeah. If you look at the principles of teaching, a lot of like independent schools, a lot of smaller schools, it's truly about love of learning. And it's truly about the kids learning, as you know and have experience, learning how to express themselves, learning how to be adults, learning how to be individuals. If you look at the bulk of public or charter institutions where Black and brown kids go, it's about skill, habit. You don't hear the real freedom of learning or love of learning or self-advocacy and expression. You know what I mean? So it's like you put 30 kids in this room and you're telling them like, you got to work hard, you got to work hard, you got to work hard. And you're not giving them any real value of life. Mm-hmm. And then we wonder why. Unless
you are that one like gem in the wall that does do the love of learning, but also like soft life skills classes. But yeah, no, a lot of these institutions out here, I feel like they just feed and thrive off of the same jargon is, hey, we're going to teach this one way and we're not going to change it.
Yes. Yep. And it's a money thing, right? Something that I learned early on about racism and capitalism is they can go hand in hand. Like, it's far less likely for me to meet someone that really hates me as much as a businessman that knows that he can do certain things to me and make money and the world's not going to say nothing. And I think that school oftentimes is the same way. Like, how much money are you making for each kid, right? I taught special education. So I knew like, they're making, $19,000 pop for every student that comes in here that is diagnosed with ADHD. So, and that's just the estimate, right? I don't know.
No, it's all good. But that leads me right into my next question. Why do people in Oakland think success in school does not translate to success?
Sure. One, first and foremost, I know that you are being devil's advocate. I just want to say that so you don't get any crazy comments about whatever it is that you have to ask me.
At the end of the day, someone has to ask hard-hitting questions.
Yep.
So if it's me, if it's somebody else, it's whatever. It's cool.
Can you ask that one more time?
No, it's all good. So why do people, and by people, I'm talking about like residents of Oakland, families in Oakland who have these kids in these high schools or just school period. Why do people in Oakland think success in school does not translate to success? Like, you send your kid to school, but they're constantly failing. They're constantly, being belligerent. But why, what is that? What is that divide?
Yeah. One, I think that dilemma is much bigger than Oakland, right? I love the city of Oakland. I'm not going to sit here and say I can speak for the whole city. But at the same time, I feel like I can, right? But you just got to be respectful, I feel. But I think that Oakland in particular, Richmond as well, like I said, a lot of inner city areas, we don't have the luxury of thinking past what it takes to live and survive. And so that's why many of our high school senior proms are as extravagant as they are, because if you get to senior high school and if you graduate high school, you done made it.
No, literally,
you know
like
what I mean?
That, like
you done made it.
That's like college.
Exactly.
In these low income communities.
Yep. And oftentimes, like, something that I've learned in the past 3 years is like, I think we have an age, and I think there's like God age. And I don't know anything about this. It's just how I've been feeling. So like, you might be 17 on paper, but you may be 50 in real life based on your experiences and how you live life. I think that when it comes to schools, it doesn't directly translate to success for a lot of kids. I will say that for me, and I think for dang near anyone, school can be your easiest path to do what you want in life. You could see the world. You can go anywhere you want to go to. My best jobs, I didn't turn in any applications for. Like, I haven't turned in an application in years at this point. It's word of mouth. It's who knows me. It's who I've met. And so I definitely think that the network that is built in education and in schools is imperative to like really building yourself up and being successful. It's not the only route, but when it comes to schools, kids are battling with real world situations every single day. And I think that's primarily why we don't see the translation.
We back then, I'm talking to my baby boomers and my boomers, they had the luxury to have their kid walk to school and then walk back, do homework, and and be able to live on a stable income. Right? Nowadays, you got kids running around with guns, drugs, money. Like, they're fighting everything right now to try and to try and honestly be really something that they have no business being.
Kids don't have the support or the guidance.
Nope.
And this, I don't like making blanket statements because like I was that kid that would hear this and be like, no, that's not true. Like I have X, Y, and Z. But oftentimes many students do not have the supports that they need. We don't have the opportunity, right? There's a lot of seniors right now that haven't taken SATs. Who's
actually seniors out there who don't even know what SAT is.
You see what I'm saying? Whose schools don't have a college readiness person.
Nope.
Who, again, like, you go to school because you have to. And there's a lot of parents who see school more as like a
chore,
babysitting.
Almost.
Like,
babysitting.
I'm sending my kid there because I got to go to work.
Yeah.
It's not always necessarily seen as like, if they go here and they do well, they'll be successful. And again, like you said, if someone's carrying a firearm or whatnot, most of the people I knew growing up that carried guns wish they didn't have to. You feel me? If you fighting, like somebody said this saying and it hit the internet a couple years ago, but it's like the brokest people are the ones that start to fight. Like it ain't the person that's successful, that's living their life, that's happy. And so oftentimes
it's the kids that have to battle to survive every single day.
Yep.
They're in survival mode 24/7.
Yep.
If you can't leave survival mode, you ain't gonna be successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's real.
Those are our answers, right? Like the city of Oakland, people in the city, people in Richmond want our kids to be successful. We don't encourage them to be in the streets. Even people in the streets will tell you, the biggest hustler will say, hey man, stay in school, bro.
Literally,
if I could take
bro.
this
Big
back,
homie will be like, stay in school.
Come on. And ironically, a lot of the people I know that were in the streets were straight A students. The world thinks you dumb because you made a mistake or because you got arrested for this or because
you're labeled a menace to society.
Come on. Your past is X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
And they don't realize that you are brilliant, bro. And like that's a part of TBN is like, if anyone gonna remind you, I'm gonna remind you like you brilliant, bro. You know what I mean? And oftentimes we are better than the environments as we see them. But who's gonna tell you that? And I don't got
someone who has the ability to actually reach these kids. Mm-hmm. That's the only one. Otherwise, they ain't gonna hear it in school. They gonna hear it from their peers.
Facts.
They ain't gonna hear it in day to day. And me being a Gen Zer, me being someone who grew up within the tech boom and within this generation.
Yeah.
If I didn't hear as many affirmations as I did, bro, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Yeah.
My family, they come from a background of gangbanging. They come from that side, you feel me? But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my mentors.
Come on.
If it wasn't for my support system.
Come on.
If it wasn't for people telling me, like, you don't have to be another statistic.
Yep.
So you preaching to the choir, bro. Yep. Like I'm for it. And this next one, it kind of surprised me, yo. Like the graduation rate in Oakland school district is 12% lower than the state average.
I'm not surprised.
Why?
One, when we look at state averages, I will say, like, from my personal outside looking in this, the South has some really phenomenal schools. They got schools filled with all sorts of opportunity. Obviously, I'm not, I'm sure that they have the horrible schools too, but state averages, you looking at places where Black people have more of a community. Like I remember being in New York and seeing whole communities of Caribbean people. Owning homes, walking the streets.
Literally.
Like, you know what I mean? And like, we don't have a Black neighborhood in terms of, if you go to 11th through 13th Street in Oakland, this is where we are and this is where we're booming in our businesses. We don't necessarily have that really in the U.S., but especially on the West Coast. And so I think that when you comparing a city like Oakland or California to the state, like I think that's skewed a little bit. I would also say something that I learned is there's never going to be good statistics about us. My whole life. They ain't never had a positive statistic about a Black man.
I didn't even think about that.
My entire life.
That's real.
I ain't never seen one.
That's real.
Never. So even though we say certain things trying to like encourage us, if we think about it, when have you seen a positive statistic about a Latino man?
I couldn't think of one. The only one that I could really think of is maybe like the farmers.
Come on,
For like just protesting.
Yep.
We're known for protesting.
Yep.
You just kept protesting.
Yep.
That's all that's really that could come to mind right now. That's crazy.
You know, even that, like reputation would say you're a hard worker. That's not necessarily an insult, but you ain't ever gonna call that person a boss. You saying you're good at working for somebody else.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so,
or you're a hard worker in a sense of like you're good with your hands. But,
yes.
But you don't know what my mind's capable of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Physical labor.
Right?
It ain't going past that. And so all of these, like, it seems abstract, but all of this is pressure that we have to deal with. You know, the city of Oakland, these schools are not truly meant to build success. They're here to contain you throughout the day. And, you know, those who make it. Like, I'm not saying that there aren't some phenomenal schools and some phenomenal folks that have came out of them whatsoever. But if you look at the numbers, there's not enough of y'all.
If you look at the big picture
you know,
right now,
there's not enough of us.
Yeah, there's not enough.
That are reaching your heights, that are coming from these schools, that have the support. I think families absolutely have a part in this. I think our communities do. And like I said, like, we have to be more transparent. We have to have these conversations. Like, what's a kid gonna do? Listen to me. I don't have $300,000 in the bank. I ain't driving a luxury car. Unfortunately, it takes that often for our kids to believe. But the wealthiest people that I know hide their money and wear the most, you know, and I'm not saying don't have your style, but the wealthiest folks that I know aren't buying the most expensive things.
Nope.
And
actually, the most wealthiest people are the most knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. If you look at all these social media influencers, mm-hmm. at least the ones that are like billionaires and millionaires and whatnot,
yep.
They do a lot of self-study.
They do
a lot of reading.
Yep.
But you won't see a young person, or at least from my perspective, I won't see a young person pull up like a Ty Lopez.
Come on.
I won't see them pull up Steve Harvey.
Yep.
I won't see them pull up anyone that's not essentially being belligerent.
Yep.
Or doing some old whack stuff.
Yep.
Because it's not cool. It's not with the times or with the norm.
You know, I think that America's really great at selling entertainment.
They are really good at selling entertainment. And I think that
half the reason why this violence or this chaos is seen is because we all like action movies. So now it's a real life action. If you and I get to fighting in here, this thing will explode.
Yep.
You know, let the ceiling cave in and someone passes out, God forbid, explode. Suddenly everyone's going to be calling you and saying this and this and this. But if we sit here and read a book or read the Bible, don't nobody feel like seeing that. I mean, I'm a part of it, right? Like, I'm on YouTube and I'm not necessarily, I'm a little older at this point. I'm in my 30s. And so there's certain things I've seen so many times now that, like, I don't really need to watch this video about this gang versus this gang that I don't really, but I definitely done watched them. You know, like, I had my time of like, because it feels like a real life action movie.
Yeah, it puts you in that excitement
mm-hmm.
feeling. It
mm-hmm.
It keeps you wanting more. And that's what America is really good at, is keeping you wanting more.
Yep. Selling you just a piece, mm-hmm. and then you got to buy more tomorrow.
Tell me about it. So this next one is a little sticky.
Sure.
So the Oakland School District spending to student budget is almost $23,000. And that's higher than the state median, which is about $14,000. So how is it not translating that Oakland is spending more money, mm-hmm. but you're not getting a better turnover rate as far as like graduators?
Facts. That's tough. I think something that, right, because I'm not whatever that position is in a school that's dealing with money. But I do think a part of it is we don't always realize the ins and outs or the innuendos of a school, right? So even though I'm saying all this about schools, who knows really how much it costs for each student to be here in this room, right? I've taught in schools in West Oakland and we didn't have no books. We didn't have enough desks for the kids. Kids are sitting on the floor in the back. I'm printing out articles in the news all year long, and I'm teaching them about how to read articles and how to dissect information because we don't have enough books for us to read the literature we're supposed to be reading. And so even though, Oakland School District is getting this money, where is it going? To which schools is it going to? How is the money being spent? How can we get more funding? Like, there's so many holes. And to me, it starts with I get there's business, right? And I think as a community and as a culture, we sometimes take things too personal that is business, but also business can still negatively impact me. So yes, it's personal. Sure, it's just business that now there's meters in the ghetto, but not in the hills. Oh, it's just business. We just voted and we put meters on all y'all areas. Oh yeah, it's just business that your car insurance costs more because you live in an area that considered to have more issues. It makes sense, right? Like if I'm giving you money and I know you live somewhere that's going to get bit, I'm going to charge you a little more because I'm going to have to fix it. At the same time, it's but some of that is personal and some of that is intentional.
Some of that is detrimental.
You feel me? And you taking advantage of a situation
Literally.
and disrespecting me, but calling it business.
Literally.
And so I think that schools in the city of Oakland and around the nation can do a better job of listening to teachers and staff, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Listen to the teachers because they know. Yep. You know what I mean? Listen to the parents because they know. Listen to the students. Kids will tell you, I will never forget a few years ago, there was a school in New York, a charter school, and kids that had graduated was talking mess about it online. And the school did a whole lot to cover it up. But I'm like, why are you covering up the truth? If kids have graduated from your school, and not just the one kid that didn't like this teacher, but a lot of kids are telling you that this isn't a great school, I didn't like it. Come on. At some point, if all my kids fail, at some point that's on me.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It could be on the school too. Maybe they came in 3 years behind and now they're 1 year behind.
No, but everyone got a piece.
But still,
everyone got a piece.
You know what I mean? And so if schools stop, if the people that really founded these schools is really let's look at the money, right? If they're spending this more, but how much are the CEO of these schools making? Right. How much are the folks that have been left this school that are retired making? How much is your health benefits and your vacation package when this kid right here can't even afford a backpack?
What's it like when a teacher, the teachers, not even teacher, the teachers under you can't afford to teach your students?
Come on.
But where is it going? So I completely get you there. Now, do you see this increase in spending as a testament to the community being recognized?
What do you mean by recognized?
By recognized, I mean so they're spending more, but and they're spending more obviously in these, I would say, low income communities, because they're getting more funding. So would you think that community is being recognized as no? Okay.
No. Because they're spending more, because they bring the news here one time and find one uncle that likes a teacher, don't mean that they're really doing much for the community, for the school as a whole. I mean, to be honest, we hire the right folks. You can change a school in 6 months. Bring 10 men in there that's, you know what I mean? And have them in there twice a week with some of the kids that y'all don't seem to have the best relationships with, and watch how things change.
Real people with real experiences who have the love of learning.
You feel me? And if one of them, 2 of them got a felony, as long as it doesn't have anything to do with children, we need to come on, as a community, if we know that the police gonna pull you over and arrest you, then why are you now not hiring folks that have been through the system that'll tell these kids, bro, that's not it?
And what's crazy is there's gonna be, and this is a statistic I saw, there's gonna be more college graduates or high school and college graduates from prison than there are going to be in the county.
Yep.
How does that make sense?
Yep. I mean, it's unfortunate and it doesn't make sense whatsoever. That's what a part of this comes down to. You know what I mean?
It's almost appalling
it's disrespectful. I feel disrespected talking about it.
Right.
Because it's like y'all really don't, and by y'all, there's so many people that
we're talking about people way above.
And even those folks way above. A lot of y'all had good intentions when you started this, but good intentions don't mean shit to a kid that don't have a lot, that's growing up in a community where every single day I got to figure it out for myself.
Like if they drove their Bentleys or their Porsches to the hood where that money is supposed to be going, and you see these kids selling on the block, how does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like that, your whole agenda, while you said, albeit, being it was supposed to be a good thing in the beginning, but it turned into this essentially monopolization. Where's how do you fix that? And everything you said before, that's the real way to fix it. You got to get people in place who have the love of learning. Regardless of their background or where they come from, as long as they don't have that type of background, but to bring them in and really teach these kids.
My biggest vision, no, I'm not going to say that. One of my visions is to have a school. And the school that I have, whoever it is, right? This is 2024, Cory. So when you see this, whenever this happens, but I believe in it. And what I would do is I would hire teachers to come in for about 2 to 4 hours a day. Something else is like, I got to commit my whole day to this. I have to be in at 6 a.m. I got to leave at 5. I teach 3 courses from noon to 2:30. Why the heck do I got to be here all day? If we really want people to come, you can get a banker that can come 3 days a week for 2 hours and pay him $20,000. You know what I mean? The whole school year. Like,
and then teach the kids my money management.
Come on, a specialist. Whatever it is, I believe more in specialization and in work-life balance. Teachers are working all day long. Then they got to go home, grade papers, call parents, come in the next day. So as a teacher, you don't have time to even breathe.
Bro, that sounds like hell.
You know what I mean?
that sounds like a lot.
The heaven is you see these kids every day.
Oh, yeah, no.
And they see you and they love you. But what you're saying is accurate. So, let's have a school if it's from 8 till 3. And let's bring in math. Math you teach from 9 to 11. You got to come in 30 minutes before. That's it. You leave at 11:30. Like, yes, there's some cultural stuff. Like, we want to make sure that everyone knows one another. But the bottom line is we can get some amazing folks to come in these rooms and teach these kids, but they don't have all day to give y'all. And you're not paying teachers enough anyway. Pay me a third, pay me a fourth of a full teacher salary, and I'll come in and do what I do for 2 hours or 4 hours a week.
Literally. And I think that the U.S. education system should look beyond its own education system and should look at these other countries' education systems, because boy, are they more robust.
They sure are.
These one of my good friends, he's Swiss.
Okay.
And he was telling me in college, his family lives out there. They pay taxes and whatnot, but he lives out there. And they were talking about how he gets paid to go to college. Get him a room and dorm.
Come on.
You get paid to go to college. You get paid to learn.
Yep.
And then once you leave, you're leaving debt-free with a degree, with an educational background that will lead you into the field that you pursued.
Absolutely. And that's a part of, America from the way I see it. And I don't want to sound like I'm not anti-America. Like, I'm American, right? Like, I love my country. I love it very, very much. If I run for president one day or something, you know what I mean? I love my people. I love everybody, no matter who you are, no matter what you look like, no matter what you like. And also, I think that, unfortunately, a lot of, like, it's even like the Super Bowl. They're saying this is the world's biggest game. Come on now. Like, we know soccer.
There's going to be another one next year, though.
You feel me? And, like, we know soccer.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to say that? So America oftentimes makes it to where we feel like we're the nucleus of everything and we're the center. And because of that, it does everyone a disservice. So like you said, we're not encouraged to look at Asia or Africa or Europe or wherever to see how we can adapt our education systems to there. We're more so taught that it's a competition and like we're better than y'all. So we're not going to go to Africa and see how this room is and adapt ours to fit theirs, right? We're not going to see how Europe's healthcare system is and adapt ours to fit theirs. And then they go a step further by making it harder to travel to certain areas or to be in communion with certain. It's just like language. Like I remember being in school taking Spanish, and the teacher told me back then that Spanish is going to take over and you need to be bilingual, right? Fast forward, I was considering coming home at a moment and I interviewed for a teaching job and they told me that I needed to be bilingual. You know what I mean? And I'm just saying that to say, like, and to any young folks that may watch this, like, we grew up teasing folks for having an accent. But something that my mother would always check me on, right? I like to talk smack. Like my homies know, like we roast one another. You know, again, I was a skinny kid. I stutter. I've been roasted through and through, and I'm the same way back. You know what I mean? And also like, but it's still a sense of love. Like we were never really like malicious.
No. I could, like, bro, I'm skinny.
You feel me?
Yeah, I got a stuttering problem. I completely understand.
Facts. It's wild that we would critique kids that had accents without knowing that they dang near smarter than us. It's because they know English, they may know Spanish, they may know Swahili, they may know whatever language it is that they're speaking, right? Mm-hmm. And they know that on top of knowing some English. And you try to go wherever their family's or origin is and have a conversation with someone.
Yeah, right.
You feel me? So even that, like, we need to encourage language. We need to encourage culture, like, more than it just being under American lens. Like, literally, let me go in your household and learn your language for real.
All right. And then we'll finally get into the next question. So, if you were the head of the Oakland School District, talking about big boss, big boss, what would you do to increase the graduation rate and the overall success of students? I'll give it a year. You got a year to completely flip the narrative. Okay. What would you do?
If I were the head of the Oakland School District, what would I do? One, I feel like that's partially like dang near a cop-out. Like, in retrospect, we could always say what we would do better or what we would do different. And I will never forget getting my master's. Like, a part of that was getting critiqued. And then there were times where I had to like observe other folks. And I realized how easy it is to critique people. It's so easy to look at someone and find the issues than it is to look at them and see the success. And so, you know, I first would just say that. I think that if I were the head of the Oakland School District, and this is without me knowing who the person is right now, whatever they're doing, because what I will say is there's a lot of work, just like with y'all here, that goes on behind the scenes that nobody sees. Someone's going to see you and be like, man, he did this wrong or this wrong. I could do it better. And they don't really understand what it took for you to show up every day. And so I think it's important to like acknowledge certain things, right, before we get into it. If I was the head of the Oakland School District, first and foremost, we need community, which means me as the head of the district, I want to pull up and talk to the heads of schools. And I just want to know you. I want to see who you are. This is given a luxury, right? Because it's probably 50 schools in Oakland. That may take a year. Now folks are like, you ain't doing nothing. You just talking to folks and having lunch. But a part of it is we are people. We are humans. We have to get back to simply communicating with one another, right? We have to get back to like, so what is your vision for the school? Most folks in school many are battered and beaten to where whatever hope visions they have, they're like, it ain't gonna happen anymore. I'm just here every day. And so we need to like refill ourselves with hope, with energy, with inspiration. But one of the very first things that I would do, and this is if I had a blank check, is smaller class sizes. Okay. It's number one thing that I would do is cut classes in half. It's number one thing. You got 30-some kids in a room. Like, come on. And the cold part is being a teacher. If I got 33 kids, I could teach 30 of them. Like I said, it's the 1 or 2 students that aren't really ready for this right now, today, this week, that make it tough to teach the 30. The 30 could get it. And so that's the first thing that I would do, is make it smaller. The second thing that I would do, and I know that this, to some may be seen as controversial. I'm not saying that the kids that can't meet a standard shouldn't be in the room with everybody. Like, I don't believe in just having a group of just bad kids to themselves. And also, if parents understood the disservice that your child is getting because they're sitting next to someone that is not ready to learn, that's just not there yet. Your child, let's say, is in 4th grade, super smart. I can teach him or her, and they can be doing 6th grade work in a month. But we can't get there because this kid next to them is not ready and is being a huge distraction to a pool of the 5 to 8 kids that surround them. If parents really knew that, things would be different. And it's controversial because what schools see that as, and what people have done, is say, okay, like, we're going to take all the bad kids and put them in the room.
You're not doing anything equal. Everything has to be equal for these kids.
You know what I mean? But I'm like, no,
but learning and education isn't equal.
Come on. And there's ways to mix students up. All I'm saying is a lot of these kids are not able to learn because the rooms are not set up or conducive to learning. Now, that one kid that right now can't do it can get it in a month. Yeah. But if we just leave him in his room and expect him to change, some of them rise to the occasion, but some of them don't. And at some point, we need to say, okay, you do need a more specialized learning right now. This is your path to be with me or to be in this smaller cohort, whatever. But I definitely think that we do need to set more standards for how kids learn, how they meet that, and whatever we do when they don't.
And actually allocate funding and resources toward those.
Yes. Excursions, right? At my school, we was going on field trips often. A lot of kids don't go.
Yep.
Or when they go, again, they got to go with everybody. It's kind of like a team. Like, if you the all-star team, then you hooping with all-stars. Mm-hmm. If you're not on the all-star team yet, you can get there, but right now, you're not going with us to X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So I also would really want to, all teachers need to make at least $50,000 more than they're making right now. That alone would do something. That alone.
Oh, yeah. That would put more teachers in schools.
Come on.
And it would retain them.
Come on. There's no way teachers shouldn't make less than $100,000.
I completely...
No way.
And it's funny, right? Because you got teachers, but then you got professors.
Yep.
I feel like teachers should make more. This is my personal opinion. Mm-hmm. I think teachers should make more than professors. Because professors are teaching someone who has already had the foot in the door. Mm-hmm. They already have gotten the explanations of why college is important. They got the ones that are trying to teach the next generation how to move toward that direction. Mm-hmm. I feel like it has to be a harder execution or a harder job to try and accomplish than someone who's already teaching those who already accomplished it.
Yeah. It's different. I mean, I hear you. I definitely think that teachers should make more money than they make.
Oh, for sure. That's a given. And
I feel like I said, whether it's how teachers show up, but also something as simple as the cafeteria. Like, I keep talking about that because how can kids learn? Kids ain't eating all day. Children are not eating all day. You might as well say children are being starved. Well, we offer them this. Look at what you offering them. You wouldn't even eat that food.
You offering them a plastic TV dinner that actually don't even look like a TV dinner.
You know what I mean? And these are kids who are choosing not to eat.
Yeah. That's funny, right? Because kids love to eat.
That's what I'm saying.
So if they're choosing not to eat your food, then you got a problem. It's not them.
Mean? So
it's definitely not them.
We're not feeding them something that's really worthwhile. Their recess time, their exploration time, their time to be free and do what they want. At a lot of schools, it's managed. You got to choose this game, or this game. So there's always a hand pressing on them. You know what I mean? There's always this weight on them that's keeping them from fully being themselves. Facts. So I would change all that up. We need to give them, and then they need each subject. There's no way in heck a school should be open and not have a history teacher. There's no way. I get it's hard, and I'm not saying this to the HR team or to the recruitment team. This ain't a knock on. I get that it's hard to find who you looking for, but that's because y'all haven't, and I don't mean you but just as a whole, we haven't set up or made an environment conducive enough for people to want to be here.
I'll also say, and this is a big one for me, please don't put a teacher of a different subject in the subject that they are an expert in.
Yep.
I don't need my math teacher teaching me social studies.
Yep.
I don't.
Yeah.
Because you're going to give them a curriculum and you're going to tell them to teach this, but nothing's going to be conducive because they can't confer or connect with it.
Yep.
And then they can't make it interesting for me.
Yep. I guarantee you, right? I even think about job readiness. You and me both can get 10 seniors into this week, into next week. And if we pay them $400 a week to come in and teach my middle school subject twice a week.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Like, if we go back to the more community-based sections and subjects, we could make it work. You can hire some parents, give them an incentive to be the school moms that go around and do X, Y, and Z. Like, we have to think outside the box, and we have to, again, like, you can go to private schools right now and see models of success. We can do that. Heads of school can go to these schools and tour and see what they're like. The wheel's already built.
You just got to implement it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we don't got to reinvent the wheel whatsoever. If bathroom is an issue at your school, you got a summer to figure it out. Y'all can figure this out. You know what I mean? Like, so I definitely think that we need to be more creative and we need to be more communicative and we really need to really lean on the community has all the answers, right? So even when it goes to like, does the culture of Oakland like feel like there's a lack in education? No, the culture got the answers. It's just the people at the top or whatever making the decisions don't value the people that have the answers because they, I feel like, are frightened that if we bring a bunch of folks that don't have this degree that I have in here, then what value do I have?
Yeah, and that's a big one too, right? Obviously, there is power in having a degree, but what you do with that degree, and especially when it comes to teaching, I feel like you can find more people with life experience. Like you said, the 23-year-old who has 50 years of life experience to come in for 2 hours and teach a subject that was comfortable with them in high school.
Yes.
Right? Or even if you do the each one teach one model, where you have the semesters that graduated, you give them incentive to come in and teach that same subject to the one right under them.
Come on.
There's always ways to cut it. It's just how are you cutting it?
Yep.
And what's more conducive and what can lead you to the path of success, especially when it comes to Black and brown kids.
Come on. If you don't want these kids to go down, right, and get locked up, bring in some people that's been locked up.
Literally.
Bring in some people that's been locked up. Also, you want the people that haven't. But you know, we're afraid to bring in the truth, and then we wonder why these young people still make the same mistakes as the people before them.
Because history will repeat itself if you do not change it.
You know?
Now, my final comment is just for your knowledge, because I wanted to let you know this. So I'm actually the Mental Health Services Act program manager here at HHREC.
Congratulations.
And what HHREC specifically does in my program is we go out and we do mental health advocacy around Alameda County.
Okay. Now,
there's this 3-year plan that comes out every 3 years, but they get an annual update. And what it is a plan on funding, expenditures, things of that nature, where the money goes, how it's being spent down, and where MHSA dollars really support what we're talking about is that they work in partnership with community-based organizations. All the high schools, at least the ones of my knowledge, that coexist with other nonprofits, such as I know Castlemont has a really good partnership with it's escaping me, but that's kind of where I envision this movement going.
Okay.
Is you'll start to see community-based organization plants inside the high schools, because obviously the high schools can't do it all.
They can't.
They can't teach life. They can't teach life skills classes if they don't have a good retention, or teachers in place that want to stay there. But if you can bring a community-based organization in, and you can have them say, support you with the one-on-ones, or support you with making sure students are on a college-ready path, being that bridge to certain resources or certain aspects of their life that they may need. That's where a lot of MHSA dollars are actually being spent down, and I wanted to share this with you because, again, those battles, they don't get the shine that they should.
Yeah.
And there's actually this it's one of my projects that I'm working on, but the project is called the 45-day public comment. And what it is, it allows residents of Alameda County to comment on the most recent plan. The most recent plan is actually coming out soon. And then once that plan comes out, I'll be able to share this with you and you can share it with your network.
Absolutely.
But essentially, it gives the community the power to comment on, hey, I see where the funding is being spent down. What is your opinion? And I know the county really values community, especially in the mental health services sector.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to share that with you because as just like the wraparound, because I want to make sure that our folks over at the county are getting the light that they deserve, because it's not every day that they're not working hard. Like everyone is trying to make sure that our students are successful. It's just the systems in place aren't conducive enough and they need to be changed. And I really do appreciate all of your feedback, especially being a teacher after 10 years.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine the amount of barriers you faced. So that's coming into our final notice, which is the future of TBN, which you kind of recognized in the beginning. But does TBN have any new programs coming out this year?
Absolutely. One, what you said about MHHS.
I got you. So the Mental Health Services Act.
What's it called? Mental Health Services.
Yeah, MHSA.
Mental Health. Oh, that's easy. Yeah. I thought there was another H.
Yeah, no, just one H.
MHSA.
Yeah.
I think that's phenomenal. I think, like you said, there's more people that are committed that are not. It's like in the world, right? I've had to accept that, even though, like, in some personal examples, I've been taught that, like, there's probably more people that's hating on me than that isn't. But the truth is not that. No matter if they're white, Asian, black, doesn't matter. Like, there's more love in the world than there isn't. And so it's great that y'all are doing that. When it comes to the Black neighborhood, we are... This year, like I said, for me is about taking us to the next level, and that means finding funding to support what we currently do. And so one, really looking at our outdoor exploration. We are looking to expand that. We've had some hikes in LA, but this year we're really going to...
Y'all try to go to the Redwoods?
Facts. So we are definitely like re-cementing ourselves in Los Angeles, and really going to have a few weekends that's dedicated to TBN LA. We are absolutely going to continue our youth empowerment. So, my goal by the end of this year, we're in one school now, is to be in at least 3 Bay Area schools. And just a small bit about that. In a nutshell, it's about experience and exposure. Each week is a theme. If this week is on health, we'd bring in a nutritionist, someone that does yoga, and a doctor. And we have, a lot of hands-on activities. The kids get to see folks that look like them, that sound like them. Like that is key. It's also key to give young people routines, habits, patterns, methods that they can then take home. And so they may learn some certain things about breathing and about breathing exercises. Then at the end of the week, we like to go off site. So we may go visit the yoga specialist at the yoga studio and have yoga there, which again is immersing young people in opportunity. And so we're absolutely looking to expand that and to promote that. We do a toy giveaway in December, and it's really a toy and shoe giveaway. And this year I would really like to collaborate with at least 3 to 4 other organizations just to make it more robust and more full. And what you asked me earlier about partnerships, right? It's like we have 8 years and then some of community work. And now it's time to find those partners that can really help us make this a priority. Like if I've been able to do this on the side, just imagine what I can be when this is my job for real. And so by by gathering and garnishing funding, not garnishing, but by gathering and getting more funding, we can really continue to expand in the services that we have. Domestic violence prevention is a big one for us. We had one workshop at the end of last year. We've already had one this year. And so we're looking to have a couple more this year. We have a women's brunch that we do pretty much yearly. We did it at the beginning of this year. We had like 35 really phenomenal individuals, ladies, and just providing spaces for them to be honored and for them to share and for them to love. And so definitely looking to cater to and to have more events for Black women, single mothers, kids, high school kids, and really, and this is like partially a part of what I do with my consulting business, but it's a lot of job readiness skills for young people. And so let's hire this high school senior to do X, Y, and Z and pay him $35, $40, $50 an hour. Like, they're worth it. Like, let's help the world know that you can make money with your mind.
Literally.
You know what I mean?
You can make money just by knowing a skill.
Come on.
You don't have to be the best at it.
You don't.
Just knowing it.
You don't. And if you're committed, like personally, like I'll be doing everything that I'm doing in my life with or without people. That's not saying that TBN is co-founded by 5 of us. It's not me by myself whatsoever. But that's the energy that I have when I wake up every day. Like, if the grass got to be cut, I'll cut it with scissors if I have to. You know what I mean? And so helping folks find their passion, find their energy is a whole nother component. And I'm talking about adults, right? We have a game day that we do every year. The last one was at San Pablo Park in Berkeley. Probably at least 200 people came out, had fun. So we're looking to have more social gatherings, more barbecues. And I personally really want to rebuild grandma's living room, like spaces where we feel like family, where like Black people feel comfortable. Absolutely.
Yeah, like a barbershop.
Absolutely. Have those dialogues, have those talks, and keep it in-house. I think sometimes as a community, we overshare things to people that don't understand. And sometimes we just need to, shut up and keep it in-house. And so those are a few of the elements and avenues and ways that TBN is looking to expand this year.
Nice. Now, how will MHSA and TBN team up this year?
Sure.
I have a couple ideas.
Okay.
I'm working on this project called Success Stories. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually looking for candidates to share their mental health success journeys.
Okay.
It's incentivized.
Okay.
And I feel like you would have a couple winners there.
Okay.
Based off all the work that you've done.
Yeah.
And this story actually goes on it goes on the Alameda County Mental Health Services Act website.
That's beautiful.
And then what I usually I usually get students or my TAE participants. Mm-hmm. But I'm really looking for I'm just looking for anyone that really just wants to share their story. Okay. That's my biggest goal. I come from the ministry of change. I come from the love of changing people's lives because it was given to me. Yeah. So why not give it back?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's exciting. One, I commend you for doing that. A part of this is highlighting the Oakland community, the Richmond community, all these communities and cultures. We got everything. Literally, yeah. We have everything. There's a lot of folks that are trying to step on us. Mm-hmm. Right? There's a lot of things that are trying to poke holes in us. Yep. And then we usually don't have the luxury or the time to show what we have. And so I really commend you on what you're doing. And we need more folks in Oakland that are highlighting the love and the people that are out here doing the work, right? You got nurses every single day that are working day shifts and night shifts and our mothers or fathers, you feel me? Yeah. Buying homes, like doing their thing. And the world doesn't necessarily know that they exist. Nope. And so oftentimes we're the forgotten people. Mm-hmm. And it's time that we remind folks of who the F we are, like what they said. Real. Like we hear, like in that TV show. We are, and this is another statistic that I was looking at. We're going to be, in a couple years, the predominance of one nationality or one
what is it? It's nationality and race or gender or not gender, race.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be phased out. Everyone will have a mix of something. If it's not like that one or two individuals, but projecting, it's going to look like everyone is going to be mixed race. So I love the communities I come from. Mm-hmm. I love the diversity. Mm-hmm. And I really can't wait to see what we come up with. What we cook up, brother. What we cook up.
Let's do it. I don't know. I mean, I've seen the mixed race theory and the AI, and again, everyone is important, and I think it's important to also have you feel me? Like when I hear mixed race, it sounds like dark skinned people might not be there. You feel me? And
I'm actually talking about the flip side.
Oh, I see.
I'm talking about the flip.
Okay, gotcha.
No, there's going to be more of us than there is of anybody else.
Got you. I mean, there probably already is, for real.
That's what I'm saying. But our ancestors, they traveled everywhere. Mm-hmm. And they're still traveling.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's going to be more of us.
That's beautiful.
And that means more of us making decisions.
Yep.
Which I can't wait to see what the world looks like in 2050.
Absolutely. Robots are going to be around.
For sure.
But on a positive note, everything that you just said is phenomenal, and I definitely look forward to finding ways that our orgs can work and we as individuals can collaborate and continue to make the world better.
Yes, sir. Well, with that being said, thank you for all the listeners, watchers, readers, and please look at the ACMHSA website here coming up soon for our 45-day public comment. It'll be on there shortly. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Follow us on Instagram. Okay, we here. Let's get it.